I love how there are like media organizations that are actually just activist organizations, of which there's so many, and even our actual like well-funded news outlets that are based in New York. I shouldn't call them news outlets. Media companies are activist organizations, whether or not they admit it. Like Now This News, for instance. You maybe have seen some of their videos on Facebook. The president of that company admitted at VidCon a couple of years ago. I don't even think he looked at it like he was admitting anything, but he bragged about how they have anti-Trump activists working at the highest levels of the company to help them produce content. Yes, Now This News. Ethics out the window, hire partisans specifically to make propaganda. The definition of propaganda is news and information meant to persuade people of a political issue or manipulate them in some way. And there you go. But we also have some more propaganda, and that's Media Matters for America. And this is also anti-Trump propaganda, progressive. Oh, and surprisingly, look, it's this article is by Talia Levin. She recently went on a tirade on Twitter calling me like silly names, like, well, not, but like silly grade school insults. I pointed out that one of the articles she wrote was not based in fact, and instead of responding, she said something like, I hope a bird poops on you, and you smell like farts. And it's really funny because she used to be a fact checker at the New Yorker, but she quit after she tweeted something out accusing a former Marine of being a neo-Nazi, of having a neo-Nazi tattoo. I don't know if you remember the story. But it was just it was like his brigade tattoo or something, and she didn't know what it was, but she tweeted it. And when you're a news organization like the New Yorker, which is credible, right? I've got a New Yorker story right there on my wall. It's like it's that one. That's from the New Yorker. Okay, they have fact checkers. If you're a fact checker at an organization like that, and you don't fact check, and you send a hate mob inadvertently, towards a Marine because you were wrong, you can't really be a fact checker. But her fall from grace has led her to be a political activist and troll. Yes, she is now a self-recognized troll. And, I want to say I wish her no ill will. I think it's just actually sad that she went from being a journalist at a prestigious organization to literally being a troll for a progressive propaganda outlet. Like, man, that's got to suck. Could you imagine being on track for the career that you want to work in, and then one day you make one mistake, and all of a sudden now it's like, I imagine this would be like, what's a good analogy? It's just, I don't know, it's a definite fall from grace. The New Yorker. It's a famous, well-respected magazine to a troll. Like, literally, she's a troll. I'm not even exaggerating. On her Twitter, she has like a banner that says she's a troll. And that's what she does. She like tweeted at me just like ridiculous nonsense. And so I get it. She's not here to make arguments. She's not here to produce facts. She lost her job as a fact checker, and she's now just like a disgraced former journalist who insults people and tells them they smell like farts. So it's sad. I mean, I don't want to rattle too on, but she wrote the story. Backlash to professor's anti-Kavanaugh tweet illustrates the content pipeline from 4chan to Tucker Carlson's show. Ooh. So what she's saying is that 4chan produces content that makes it on Fox News. I want to point out, we'll see where she goes with this, but it's also entirely possible that 4chan posts things after seeing them on Tucker's show and not the other way around. I love this ridiculous nonsense they write about. But look, this is not journalism, this is, trollish propaganda, so they're going to write whatever, it doesn't even make sense. I love that they call Talia as an extremism researcher at Media Matters, where she has worked since July 2018. She has a bachelor's degree from Harvard. Oh my God, and a former Fulbright scholar. Wow. I want to reiterate, that's sad, right? You got nothing but pity for this individual. Harvard University and former Fulbright scholar, disgraced, had to quit their job from the New Yorker and now working as a troll producing progressive propaganda. That's, man, I can feel nothing but pity for that. C. Christine Fair, an associate professor at Georgetown School for Foreign Service, found herself in the midst of a right-wing media uproar Monday over a facetious tweet about Lindsey Graham and Supreme Court nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh. The right-wing outrage over the literal interpretations of her tweet perfectly illustrated how a 4chan targeted harassment campaign traveled through the pipeline to become content for Fox News' primetime program, where host Tucker Carlson framed the tweet as an example of white genocide, a common white supremacist trope. Now, I can't actually read the tweet. I can read some of it, because I think if I read all of it, I could actually get suspended. That's actually how bad it is. Fair responded to a news article about Lindsey Graham by writing, look at this chorus of entitled white men justifying a serial rapist's arrogated entitlement. All of them deserve miserable I can't read the next part because seriously, I don't know if you can see it. You can see it. Basically, called for death, called for the murder of white people, and everyone saw this. This was a news story. It wasn't just to the right. And I think it's interesting how, you can tell this is propaganda and not news in how they tell you what the tweet, they make assumptions about the story, right? They called it a facetious tweet. We don't know it's facetious. A news organization would not call it facetious. An op-ed would, right? Literal interpretations illustrate 4chan, etc. The tweet was noticed by users of notorious anonymous message board 4chan. It was also noticed by a ton of other people. We don't know if the ire started with 4chan or not. The 4chan thread timestamp indicates it was posted a little before 10 a.m. on October 1st. Shortly after, at 11:31 a.m., Fox News tweeted out a story by Fox News' Caleb Park about Fair's September 29th tweet. A few hours later, the hostile backlash to Fair's tweet had migrated from 4chan to Twitter, where users recommended calling Georgetown's campus police and reporting Fair for threatening to castrate white men. So I want to point out that, first of all, Tucker Carlson's show is a nightly show for 1 hour, which means they produce throughout the day or even days prior to the show, and then they air it. This was big on Twitter. To act like it's a pipeline from 4chan to Tucker Carlson is obvious propaganda. You're seriously manipulating people, because I would actually describe it like this. Don't think of it like it starts with 4chan and a pipeline moves up to Tucker Carlson. Think of it more like there is a lightning bolt that brackets out in a bunch of different directions. At some point, someone noticed this. We don't know where. But one person posted here, one over here, one over here, one over here. We don't know if it started with 4chan. You could never be able to prove that. And it's possible that someone noticed it and posted it to 4chan, and someone different noticed it and posted it to Twitter. This is the kind of strange gaps in logic that propaganda outlets use to try and manipulate you into believing the worst things possible. The goal of websites like Media Matters, this is a progressive analysis. That's what they call themselves, something like that. But really what they do is they serve to be divisive, to make everyone hate each other. Everyone is the other, you must hate. It's all about hate. Really, it really is. Anger is the emotion that gets the most shares, and so they play off this. I believe Media Matters is a nonprofit, and that would indicate that there are people who independently fund this, specifically without profit in mind, in order to manipulate the public. And it's free speech, so it is what it is. I feel bad for the people who get duped by this stuff. Right-wing outlets like the Daily Caller and Town Hall also jumped on the story. The Daily Caller inexplicably wrote up Fair's tweet in two different stories published within 30 minutes of each other. And one was probably an op-ed, I don't know. Fox News' Tucker Carlson picked up the story on his primetime show, using the tweet to warn his audience about the white supremacist conspiracy theory of white genocide. Right, so here's the thing. I always find it really funny. Somebody on Reddit accused me of advocating for genocide, and that's the most extreme total nonsense ever, because I'm a social liberal who leans I'm on my 8 values test, I'm 70% progressive, right? I'm just not authoritarian. So I oppose murder, violence, genocide, incivility to an extreme degree. But this is what they do. They lie about it. And then the people who claim that the other side, right, they're pointing the finger to the right of them, right, which includes left, center-left people. They're pointing that way and going, they want genocide. Meanwhile, they go oh, but we're just joking when we do it. You literally had a woman talk about murdering people for being white. And then when people get mad and say, hey, that's not funny, they go, oh, it was obviously a joke. Okay, well, it's still hate speech. You're still targeting an ethnic group for murder and castration. How is that not hate speech? Don't ask me. These people just somebody mentioned, called them crypto racists. And I really like that term because it represents how they claim they're not racists. Sure, it's a war of language. They redefined racist, whatever. Crypto racist. It's somebody who hides behind anti-racism who is actually racist. And these people are racist because the definition of racism is clear. And not only that, words are defined by people who use them, not by dictionaries. Dictionaries try to tell you the best understanding of what the word means. And that means if 63 million people in this country believe you can be racist to white people, guess what? The word racist applies. Now, all you really need to think about is what the word means when you're talking to someone else. If you're talking to someone on the left, they're going to say, no, you don't need to argue semantics with them. Just argue the core and say they hate people of specific races. Right, we'll break it down. How about that? So here we have people being and they're defending this. This is what's really hilarious about this article by Talia Lavin is the overt defense of calls for genocide. Why? It doesn't matter if it's a joke or not. Listen, She got banned for this as a violation of hate speech. I don't think she should have let the tweet go viral because people would be like, whoa. And right, so I think things should be removed if they're illegal. This might actually cross the line into being illegal. Actually, no, she didn't call for anyone to do anything. She just said people deserved certain things. Like men deserve to die while feminists laugh as they take their last gasps. Yes, let her say, she got banned, I'm pretty sure, for it. Or suspended or something. And I think that, I don't think she should have. I think let her, post this call and let everyone highlight it like they're doing. They're using this, right? It is not funny if someone calls for genocide of any group. In certain contexts, I understand the joke can be made, right? I think it is possible to joke about most things, not everything, right? People understand that sometimes jokes are too soon, so sometimes things are off limits. Actually, I would say a lot of things are off limits. Like, you wouldn't, if you go to a comedy show and somebody had like a horrifying injury, or like, let's say their face was all burned up, a comedian probably wouldn't mock them for it. Like there are lines we don't cross. In my opinion, I don't like the idea of joking about genocide. I don't think it's funny, and I don't think it should be defended. Defended like calling it a facetious tweet that people shouldn't take literally. No. I think you can defend certain jokes in the context of like you have a right to say it, but not actually defending the core of what the message is, right? Like when I complain about Alex Jones getting banned, I'm not trying to defend him and the content he makes. I'm trying to defend the principle, right? So defending the principle is different from the content. I think it's really funny that you have someone like Talia Levin actively defending calls for genocide, be it a joke or not. I think I say it's absolutely fair to say that Talia Levin has produced an article defending genocide. She calls it a conspiracy theory. Whatever. I'm not going to play that game. Hate speech is hate speech, right? So anyway, the core of the article is complete and utter nonsense. It tries to draw a picture around, oh, this is hilarious. Somebody posted on 4chan, can you explain to your audience what those parentheses around Fair's name mean? And if you're not familiar, it's the echoes, and it was used by, I believe, like anti-Semites to highlight things that they thought were Jewish, but now a lot of Jewish people put the echoes on their name on purpose to let everyone know they're Jewish. So, I'm not going to read any more of this complete and utter nonsense, but there you have it. Sad story about Talia Levin, to go from a Harvard graduate Fulbright scholar to a troll. Like, man, that's a hard fall from grace. But that's what happens when look, if you're going to do your job, you got to do it right. If somebody was in the medical field and they screwed something up, they might lose their career too. If you're a professional driver and you get in a car accident, you could lose your license. And she was a fact checker who didn't check her facts, and she got called out for it. And I made a video about it too. And now she's just a troll for a progressive propaganda site. Man, never. I should say that's a pretty hard fall. Anyway, one more article, maybe more, but another one coming up in a few minutes.